Hi, I'm Amy Hannon, and nothing thrills me more than people and food. I'm a preacher's wife, a mom of 3, and I own my own specialty kitchen store. I've kept an open door and a well-stocked fridge, which means I have fed a lot of mouths over the years. So welcome to my kitchen. This is Cooking Today. Hi there, welcome to my kitchen. Thanks for being here today. Y'all, did you know that this month is National BLT month? Bacon, lettuce, and tomato. And I actually considered trying to make a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich and kind of, jazz it up and make it fancy for you to kind of celebrate. We love BLTs. Do y'all? We love them a lot, especially in the summertime. We love to make a good BLT. Like after we've worked in the yard, it's really easy and fresh. You can get really great tomatoes in the summertime. But it's April and we don't have awesome tomatoes right now. You know those big, yummy garden tomatoes that are so good? So in honor of BLT, I decided that I would show y'all how to make my all-time favorite pasta that I get when I go out to a restaurant. If I've got it, if they've got it on the menu, a bacon spinach ravioli that we top with beautiful heirloom tomatoes. BLT for the tomatoes. So we're going to deconstruct a BLT to celebrate the month, and you are going to love this pasta, and it's super easy. Starts with a store-bought ravioli that cooks in no time. And so there's a little prep work at the beginning, and that's it. So let's get going, and I'll show you what we've got, kind of got going. We have a pot of boiling water on the stove that is very well salted, okay? And then I'm just gonna let that be ready, because once it's time for us to put that pasta in, it cooks super fast. Like this little have y'all seen these? I love this little brand, Giovanni Rana. It's one of my favorite restaurants in New York where we eat. But they've started making these delicious little homemade pastas. And let's see, it cooks in 2 minutes. So that's why you kind of have to have everything ready to go and your water ready, because once it's time, you gotta move fast. And so if you let that go too long on the stove, all that yummy little ravioli filling kind of busts out and seeps, and we don't want that. So we're gonna have to be on it. So we're gonna be prepped and ready to roll. So we do have our water going, very well salted with the lid on, to keep our heat in and get that boiling. I have a cup of heavy cream and a little bit of chicken stock that I'm putting in my little warmer, and I'm going to stick that over here on my stove. I've got lots of pots over here today. Okay, let's see. We're gonna get that going. And y'all, we have to watch that little pan. I know that y'all, we have sold so many of those little warmers at Unimaze in the last couple of months. You wouldn't even believe how many. But it boils over, especially when you put milk in it. It's happened in here a lot. And so you have to really be watching it. So because it's really, really thin, you just wanna put it on low, because low heat's gonna do the trick. You don't have to turn it real high or it's gonna boil over. And burned milk in your burner is the worst. And so we don't wanna, we don't wanna have any of that. So we've got our cream and our chicken stock warming. We have our water salted and boiling. And then I've taken, about a half a package of bacon, maybe six pieces of bacon or so. And I went ahead and just kind of cut it into pieces. And we're gonna get that sauteed on the stove. Okay, and we've done this before. Gosh, in our very first episode, I think we did shrimp and grits and started with a little bacon. And what we wanna do is we wanna get the bacon pieces nice and crisp and brown, because we're gonna toss those back into the pasta at the very end. But then we also want to render out the fat that comes from the bacon. I'm going to set that over there. And we want to render out that fat. So once that gets crisp, we will spoon it out and set it on a paper towel lined tray that I have behind me, and it will just drain on that paper towel lined tray. And we will save the grease that we're going to cook our shallots and our garlic in. Now I just have a shallot, that I am going to cut up, and we're going to saute once our bacon gets finished. And I'll tell you, I actually get this, this pasta, or one very similar anyway, at a local Fayetteville restaurant that's been around for a long, long time. I mean, I love it. And I have kind of, you know, you take bites, especially people who cook at home. You take a bite and you say, ooh, what's that? What's that? Does it have shallots in it? Does it have garlic in it? And you kind of try to figure out if you're going to be able to make it at home. I'm not certain that they have onions or shallots in theirs, but I really love it. And I like that little bit of sweet that it gives. You know, when an onion cooks and gets a little bit tender and a little bit of color, it actually takes kind of that sting out that I always say kind of burns your nose, that an onion gives, like a raw onion, and it actually becomes very sweet. And that's what I'm trying to get out here. And we're gonna cook it, saute it down in that bacon fat, so you really have a yummy thing going. So I'm gonna use this shallot. I'm listening with my ears to my bacon. When we come back, we're gonna spoon out our bacon and start sauteing our onions and our garlic. Make this sauce that you're not gonna believe. You're gonna love this, y'all. This is Cooking Today.
Cooking Today, sponsored by West Rock Coffee Company.
Hi, we're back. Today we're making bacon spinach ravioli, kind of a celebration nod to National BLT Month. Isn't that fun? We've got our bacon that we're sauteing right now. As a matter of fact, it's ready to come out. It's gotten nice and crisp and smells the best. I mean, don't you just think bacon is the best? I mean, I know bacon a mile away, and I love walking into a house or a restaurant that smells like bacon. It is delicious. So I cut this into little pieces, and then I've sauteed it kind of over low because I wanted to get it crisp, but then I also wanted to render out that fat because we're going to use that as like a flavor base for our yummy sauce. We're basically going to make kind of like a homemade Alfredo, although most Alfredo doesn't start with bacon fat. Mine does, but not everybody's does. But it is going to taste good. So I have scooped out these bacon pieces, well, the best I can anyway. There we go. And I have these laid on this sheet pan right here, just lined with a paper towel so that it can kind of cool. And then the paper towel will suck out just a little bit of the rest of the grease, kind of absorbs it up. Okay, we're gonna set that aside. Now I've turned this heat down pretty far on my pan. This is a new pan, isn't it pretty? It's this beautiful emerald green from Staub. It's a little bit deeper than my regular braiser, and I'm really enjoying it like crazy. It's a beautiful pan, I'm so excited. But I am turning my heat down a little bit because that bacon fat is super hot. And so before I add in my onions, I wanna be sure that it's turned down just a little bit. We don't want it screaming hot. And I am going to, you should not use your knife to scoop your veggies, but I don't know where my scraper is. You know, my little fun scraper. So I'm gonna go ahead and move my shallots into the bacon. And I wanna hear them to be sure that they're not just sizzling like crazy. So it's just right, like a nice little simmer, little bitty sizzle, okay? Then I'm gonna get my spoon back out that I used to saute the bacon and give these a little stir. And we're gonna let those get a little tender and a little bit of color on them. Now, if you had your heat turned up too high on these shallots, they would actually fry. I mean, you would almost have like little fried onions. And we want them to be tender and translucent and yummy with some color. And I am gonna go ahead and chop a little garlic to add in there. So y'all, in just a minute, when we have simmering, yummy, caramelized shallots and garlic cooking in bacon fat, it is gonna be like heaven in here. It's gonna be like heaven. Okay, and you know, we've talked about this before. You don't wanna put your garlic in with your onions in a hot pan because it will cook so fast, and we want our onions to have more time than our garlic to cook. You only cook garlic until it's really fragrant, and then you have to really kind of get a little liquid on it. And our liquid is our heavy cream and our little bit of chicken stock that we have simmering on the back burner, so that when we pour it in, it's not gonna shock it, and we just don't have as far to go. Does that make sense? So instead of starting with cold liquid and pouring it in, we're gonna have a warm pan and pour warm liquid in, and so we're gonna kind of keep everything up to temperature, and we don't have as far to go starting with a cold liquid and bringing it up. Do you see how that works? Kind of cuts a step in half and kind of speeds up our time. Okay, they're getting a little tender. We even have a few baby pieces of bacon left in there, and that is just fine. My salted water is boiling away, and I'm gonna give these another minute or so. And while we wait, I'm gonna go ahead and grate some of this Parmesan cheese on kind of my pretty finely. Let's talk about our sauce that we're gonna make. Like I said, I'm teaching y'all how to make an Alfredo sauce, which is more or less cream and butter and parm and a little bit of salt and pepper. I've seen some people put a little garlic in theirs, which I really love, but the basic is cream and butter and parm with a little bit of salt. It's as easy as that. You can always go buy, as a matter of fact, on this recipe, you could even buy a jar of your favorite Alfredo sauce if you wanted to. That would make this so easy to do. You wouldn't heat the cream on the back burner, and you wouldn't have to shred all of this cheese, and you would just pour it in. And I'll tell you, when we get there in the recipe, I'll be sure to tell you when you would pour in your, I'm gonna have some help. I was shredding this cheese a couple of days ago, and my boys walked in. They were like, "Does that make you tired?" I said, "Yes, it does." You would think that my right arm would have like a big old muscle. Trust me, it does not have a big old muscle. I lost my muscles years ago, thanks to the bacon and the cream, right? Sure does taste good, though. Okay, and I can see we are pretty close. This cheese is gonna go in our cream sauce that we're gonna make in just a minute. So we really have all of our prep done. I'm gonna stir in my garlic till it's fragrant, and then we are gonna be ready to go. It's gonna all come together here in just a minute. This is Cooking Today.
Iced tea, sponsored by Lipton.
Hi, we're back. I'm just finishing stirring up my shallots. They're beautiful. They're nice and tender and have a little color. They smell fantastic. We're all prepped. We have our spinach, we have our cheese shredded, our pasta water is boiling, our bacon is all nice and crisp, our cream is warm, so we're about to really just kick it into high gear and finish everything up, okie doke? So, we want to take just a minute and let this garlic saute. Y'all know what we could say it all together now, couldn't we? We're gonna put it in until it's fragrant, just for a minute, okay? And it does not take very long for that to start smelling, and that means that it is just the right time to start putting some liquid in on it so that it doesn't burn. Burned garlic turns into little terrible black crispy things that are just terrible, and they really turn to a burned flavor, not a good caramelized flavor, and so you have to really watch it. I have my pasta water boiling on the stove. I'm going to give it a little raise so that once we put our ravioli in there, it will not drop the temperature. I have the ravioli cut open and ready to roll. And this is just a cheese-filled ravioli. You could actually use another flavor. They've got all kinds of things. They're actually spinach-filled raviolis if you'd like to do that one. You could also do this with a tortellini, the ones that are a little bit more kind of tight and a little knot. If you would rather do that, I love the filling in this one. This is just straight up cheese. And so that's the one I'm gonna use because I'm putting spinach and all the flavor in it and around it. And so I just wanted to go ahead and go with the general ravioli. Okay, gang, ready? So I'm turning this heat down pretty low because we don't want to just scald this cream in this. There's a little bit of chicken stock in there just to kind of thin the cream out. I know, isn't that super responsible of me to thin out the cream? And it just gives it that nice little salty, smoothness in the cream. So I've got this turned down. We do not want to burn this cream like crazy. Oh goodness, here we go. And so I'm really down on like a 2 or a 1 on my burner. And so by pouring that in, it has already started to just simmer just the smallest bit, and our pasta water is ready. I'm gonna go ahead and put in a little bit of butter, a couple of tablespoons into our cream, and let that be melting down. And then I'm going to watch that, and as soon as that's done, we're gonna add in all this yummy parm. Actually, we're not gonna add in all of it. We want one good little shred of it to go on the pasta at the very end. Okay, so we have our simmering cream, chicken stock, yummy sauteed shallots, and garlic. Okay, I'm gonna watch this real quick. I have several cups of spinach, and this is just store-bought spinach that I actually just buy in the, the section with the fresh salad and like the big box. You can use as much or as little spinach as you would like in your sauce. You could actually omit it if you really didn't want to. If you're feeding kids and they're scared of the green, you wouldn't have to put it in there, but it really doesn't have a lot of flavor, so I suggest you try to sneak it in. And spinach wilts down like crazy, so we will put a lot of it in there, and then we're gonna lid it, and it's gonna shrink and wilt way, 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 way down. And so it looks like a ton, and I'm gonna kind of eyeball it. My water is telling me. But this is the point where I said we have to really, really watch and be really, really, at the ready. Okay, I think that looks really good. Our butter is melted down. I've got my spinach set aside. I'm gonna add almost all of this parm, which would be about a cup or so, to our liquid. And y'all, that's the fresh, grated parm. You just cannot beat that. There are some that you buy in a container that's already pre-shredded, and it's just not quite the same, gang. It's thickening on us just a little bit. It smells so good. So here's what we're gonna do. That's already melted in. I'm gonna take several handsful of the spinach, move my spoon, and I'm going to carefully drop this right on top of this cream mixture, okay? And it's gonna look like so much, and you're gonna think, oh my word, but don't worry. Whoop. I'm probably gonna say 3 cups or so of spinach, just to get some in there without it being too spinach hearty. And then look right here, I'm gonna lid this. This is one of my other favorite things about this dish, is it has a clear lid on the top, so you can actually see what's happening inside your pan. And what's so great about that with this dish is I can actually watch it, and the steam is gonna wilt the spinach, and I can see what's happening. I don't have to lift the lid and lose the steam to check on the condition of my spinach. So here's my topping that we're gonna use shortly. We wanna save that rind because you can use that for other things. We have our spinach that you could even make a little salad with if you want. Let's see. This is going to continue to wilt a little bit. I'm gonna stir it in just a little as we go. And then I'm about to put our pasta in. It's gonna cook in 2 minutes while we're away. When we come back, we're gonna put it all together. This is cooking today. Did you know that freshly grated cheese over store-bought shredded is gonna always make a creamier texture? It is not a whole lot more work. You've seen me do it here. We just grate a little fresh cheese and put it on top and put it in our dishes and eat it by the handsful. It's creamier, it's a little bit richer, and it only adds a little bit of extra time, not much. And oftentimes it even costs a little less because you're doing the elbow work rather than them doing the elbow work. And so put in a little grease and shred your fresh cheese yourself. You will love the difference. We are back. It smells fantastic in here. We have boiled our ravioli pasta. It only took about 2 minutes. And I have drained that and dumped it down into our spinach and cream. Oh my goodness, y'all, it smells so good. And remember, in that cream, we added all of that good, fresh shaved and grated parm. So all I'm doing is gently tossing this together. Oh, it smells, y'all. This is rich, it is creamy, it's a little tiny bit smoky from that bacon. I'm kind of folding. We don't want to tear open the ravioli. And then look what we're going to do. Remember those good bits that we may or may not have been snacking on? I mean, who can be in a room with bacon and not have a little bite? So I'm tossing this in, and we're just going to plate it. Now I've tasted, because you know you need to taste as you go. And so I've tasted for a little salt and pepper. Because of the parm, it doesn't need a whole lot. But I salted and peppered it just a little bit. So I'm going to plate a couple of these up. I'll do all of them in a minute. And then I've got these pretty heirloom tomatoes that are just, you could use grape tomatoes or cherry tomatoes, but these beautiful little heirloom kind of gourmet tomatoes where it harps, and I thought they would just be so pretty, the color and the different shapes. Right on top of that beautiful pasta. Oh my goodness. Shake a little more of that beautiful, fresh, grated parm right on top. Pour yourself a glass of sweet tea and enjoy every single bite. Bacon spinach ravioli. This is cooking today.
Cooking Today, sponsored by West Rock Coffee Company. Kitchenware is provided by Una Mays. Groceries provided by Harps, Hometown Fresh.